there's something so special about supporting each other and realizing that there is enough business to go around. It's hard to get stuck in the mindset that there's just so many photographers. Like, it's such a saturated market. Yeah, everywhere is. Like, everywhere is. And it's not just our industry. Like, there's just a lot of people doing things in all the industries, especially creative ones. So, but there are more people looking for that than there are people offering it, I think.
Hey friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Hey, my Feel Good friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I am so excited to share today's guest with you because Kira is a brand photographer out of my new hometown of Colorado Springs. And this was just such a fun conversation. Whether you are looking to get brand photos done for you and your business, or you are a photographer looking to expand into the branding world, Kira is dishing up all of her awesome tips. She shares her inspiring story that I just absolutely adored. And I know you're going to get a lot of value out of this combo. So before we dive in, don't forget to share this conversation with another biz buddy who could also use to listen to it, and or share it to your Instagram stories. And don't forget to tag me. I'm at Feel Good Social. And when you tag me, I'll be able to see it, reshare it, and just spread the love right back to you in the DMs. Okay, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Hi, Kira. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social Podcast, lady. I'm so excited to bring you on the show.
Thanks, Kinsey. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. Well, I did already introduce you just a little bit in the intro, but I always like to ask you to hear from you in your own words. Who are you? What do you do? And who do you serve?
I love that. Yes, my name is Kira Goff. I live here in Colorado Springs with my husband and my 2.5-year-old son. I own 2 businesses. I have Kira Whitney Photography and Kindle Photo Studio and Event Space. So on the photography side of things, I specialize primarily in brand photography, where I help small business owners create intentional personal brands. My goal is always to help them grow their businesses through unique content that positions them as experts, helps them stand out, and connect with their ideal client. I also do family photography because I love kids and I can't imagine not capturing those special memories for them. And then for Kindle, my photo studio and small event space, it's just what it sounds like. I utilize it for my own work a lot of the time with brands and family photography, but I also rent it out to other photographers and videographers for photo shoots, as well as anyone for small events like baby showers, bridal showers, workshops, client appreciation events, things like that. And yeah, the goal of Kindle is kind of where the name came from, is we just try to be the avenue by which people's next spark of an idea is breathed to life. So hence the name Kindle, like kindling.
Oh, that's so cool. And I cannot wait to chat with you about all the things because, I mean, well, we'll get to this, but I know you love the business side of photography as well as the photography side of photography, but the Kindle Studio is just such a cool concept too. So I can't wait to dive into that. But I do kind of like to just kick off these interviews by asking kind of, how did you get started on your journey of entrepreneurship and what did that look like for you? Because I think it's so relatable, inspiring, and interesting so often. So what'd that look like for you, lady?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've always, since I was a child, had this entrepreneurial spirit. I'm definitely, I don't know if you know, I'm sure you know the Enneagram. If anybody out there knows the Enneagram, I am a 7 and I'm very I want to do all the things, try all the things, which I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. But really the very first thing I can think of is normal kids' lemonade stands are just lemonade. I was out there selling cookies, baking full loaves of bread and up-leveling my lemonade stand. So, and then my mom, of course, she homeschooled us. And so she had this, everything's a lesson kind of mentality. So she would make me calculate how much I spent on her ingredients and pay her back out of what I made from the lemonade stand. So I'm it was a great life lesson. I mean, I put that to use all the time now. So that's like very, very beginning. Just it's always been in my spirit. But then I didn't know what it would look like. I did always like taking pictures. I was the little, middle schooler running around with my little digital camera that I lost like 8 of. And then my dad bought me my first DSLR my freshman year of college for Christmas. So really, it's so simple. Like I started taking pictures of people and I knew, I think weeks later, that that's what I wanted to do with my whole life. So it just felt like this aligning of all the things that I love. Of course, then it took, 9 full years to go full time with it. So definitely a long journey, but the passion has always been there. And it's always just been a no-brainer that this is what I was meant to do.
Oh, so adorable. Oh my gosh. And I love that like your mom took it to the next level of, oh no, like you had your entrepreneurial spirit instilled in you very young. And I love that so much. Oh my goodness. And so, yeah, and 9 years later, it's been a journey, but that's so cool. So when you finally kind of started thinking like, okay, I guess I'm going to go professionally with this. I guess I'm going to take photos like as my career and make a job out of this. Like, what did that look like for you?
Oh, such a good question. Lots of things. Basically, I graduated college and there were, the first, let's see, I guess since I started in the freshman year of college, it was like 6 or so years after college that I actually went full time with it. So I was working at actually Visit Kansas City, the Convention and Visitors Bureau there, just selling Kansas City for conventions, and not something I was passionate about, but it was a really great job, just communications wise and learning how to work with people and all that kind of thing. But by the end, I worked 2 full years where I was making more with photography than I was with my full-time day job, because while I am an Enneagram 7 and we're all about freedom and like, well, just try it and figure it out. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it. I also, sorry, I talk about the Enneagram a lot, but I also have a strong 6 wing, which is the security side. And I like risk, but I like calculated risk. So for me, it was like, I did it 1 year. I was like, oh, I made more than I did with my day job, but I really wanted to see if I could duplicate it and do it again and make sure that I wasn't doing something stupid by just going for it. And really, like it just made such good sense for my family because I was making all this money on the side that we were able to pay off student loans and get completely out of debt before I went full time. So it was just less scary. There's more to rely on, I guess. But yeah, then I went full time. Let's see, once I quit Visit KC, I moved like 6 months later. So it was both going full time and moving all in one, which was just tough for business. But it was an easier transition than I thought it would be, just because I was moving back to Colorado where I grew up. So at least I had like connections here and that helped me start off on a good foot. But so it's been 4 years since then, since I've been like officially full time. And then I opened Kindle 2 years ago, and that's been my first physical space. So that was kind of the next incremental risk was, okay, go full time and now be on the hook for this monthly lease and utilities and all the things that come with owning something physical. But really having other photographers help me pay my rent has been amazing. It's let me kind of scale what I do while they kind of take care of that physical building part of it. So it's been really life-giving.
Oh, wow. So many questions. I always have so many questions. But firstly, I just have to say, like, anyone who has been listening to the podcast for a while knows that I am also an Enneagram 7, and yes! I just like to talk about the Enneagram too. So okay, we perfect. Are on the same page, lady. Wow, that is so, so inspiring, that you just kind of like started dabbling in this passion, and then you kind of like you're like daring yourself. I wonder if I can do this again before you go full time and stuff. Because there definitely is like a few different camps, I feel like, of people giving advice in entrepreneurship and all the things you hear. And for a while there, a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space were saying, just take the leap, go for it, jump, and something will catch you, or whatever it is. And it's like, but also, it's a good idea to be prudent and like
maybe have a plan.
Yeah, that you need a plan and that you need to pay the bills and all that different stuff. I just have like a quick question about your photography before we get into the Kindle stuff, because I'm so interested in that too. But when you were doing the photography stuff, did you always kind of start as like branding? Or I know a lot of people like kind of go into the wedding space because there's money there, but then it feels like maybe they get burnt out? Or did you ever deal with that at all, or were you always mostly branding?
Oh, 100%. I think
Yeah.
all of us start out doing like anything and everything.
Hmm.
And it's hard for me because a lot of people are like, niche down, niche down, niche down. That's how you make money, you know.
Hmm.
I kind of stopped listening to that and was like, you know what, I'm going to shoot what I want to shoot and not care so much about what everyone else is saying is like the best path forward, because it just looks different for everybody. And I'll just shoot what I want, and that can change over the years. So I had no idea what brand photography was. It wasn't even on the radar because everyone does family and wedding photography. And so that's what I started, was just family and wedding. So really about like soon before I went full time, about five or so years ago, I had this girl reach out, and she was a money coach, but just huge influencer, like tons of followers, posting content like crazy. So just needed lots of content. And she reached out and she was like, so I'm having trouble finding someone who will do like, who doesn't limit the number of outfits and that kind of thing. She's like, I don't need,
Mm.
100 pictures each in 2 outfits. I need like 2 pictures in 100 outfits. Like she was being exaggerating, but
Yeah, yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. And so that was the first time I started thinking like, oh, brands need something different than families and weddings do. And then as I did more and more, especially just working with her every 6 months or so, I just started realizing what a good fit it was for me. Yes, it was. I still took weddings for a while because it is scary to transition out of those when that is like your baseline. And then when you do brands, you don't book that far out. And so it's just a different mindset of like, okay, I'm going even now, like I'm going into next year with like 4 shoots on the books, but that was the same this year and I made more than I ever have. So it takes a bit to transition there. I've done about 110, 115 weddings, and I'll take a couple still, but only the ones that I really want. So like if one of my brand clients is getting married, 100% I'll do their wedding, I'll keep that client. But
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely have narrowed down just weddings. And then there are a couple like really specific things that I don't do. Boudoir is not for me. And like posy studio newborn sessions are not for me. So I do them in my studio, but my studio is very lifestyle oriented. Like we
Hmm.
got the bed for cozy family pictures and the couch and stuff, but I'm not going to do the like very photoshopped, like baby holding up their head. That's actually 2 pictures because babies can't hold up their head. So it's like 2 pictures put together. Like that's not me. So I've narrowed down a few
Yeah.
things, but really brands have been so interesting to me as an Enneagram 7 because they're so different every time. Like I got a little burnt out of weddings, like you said, most people most people do. It takes a special breed to stay a wedding photographer forever, but they're just so similar every time, and like everyone thinks their wedding is unique, but really brands are just all over the place. Like one week, I remember specifically, but this happens all the time. Like one day I shot a girl eating pizza because she was a food blogger. So we're just like walking around to these different restaurants and showing off, their food and her eating and all that stuff. The next day I was shooting 30 lawyers in a boxing ring. The next day I was photographing edibles, like chocolate with, yeah, yeah, Colorado. And
Yeah.
it's so random every time. I'm like, I am always challenged. I always have something new to look forward to. We get to meet a whole bunch of people in a lot of random industries and just learn all these random things. So definitely have found my home with brand photography.
Oh, I love that so much. And yeah, for sure. I can totally see where your Enneagram 7 soul is like loving that because I feel the same way over here with my different various things. But yeah, that is so cool. And I think that's so inspiring too for photographers to hear as well. Because I have just, spoken to several photographers who all do kind of go through the same thing. And thank you also for saying that about niching. Because I think that that's something, whether you're a photographer or not, you can take from it. But it is like, I think that it's one of those things, any advice that you hear in the entrepreneur space or online or wherever, it's like take it and consider it. And also like decide if you want to follow it or not, right? And like
Definitely.
how it can work for you. It's not like always just this is how it is. So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. Do you feel like because you do enjoy kind of the businessy side of things, like creating a brand yourself for your photography and your studio and all that different stuff, like Do you think that that's another reason you kind of enjoy the brand photography as well? Because you can like understand that strategy of like the business side?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. I feel like a lot of times people are like, we need photos, but also what do we do with them? So that's been fun. And then I feel like there's this connection, especially because I work with a lot of small businesses, like the 30 lawyers in the boxing ring was, I do those to pay the bills. It's okay that it's work sometimes. But the ones I love and that really light me up are like the solopreneur, often like people just starting their businesses who have no content and they're just needing like stuff for their website and to get started on social media. And of course, my repeat clients who come back for more social media content. But yeah, it's been really fun to connect with them because we have such similar mindsets and I feel like I know their world, even though we're in different industries, and it's so easy to connect in that way. And then the final reason that brand photography has been honestly life-changing is I do have a 2.5-year-old now, and I am a workaholic, and that has helped me work less weekends and evenings than I did before. I still do for sure. I mean, if I'm doing family mini sessions or family sessions at all, they're mostly outside, and sometimes brands are too, but a lot of the time I'm doing them when I have childcare Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday mornings. I kind of like have 2.5 days of childcare and 2.5 days where it's me and my son. And so that's just the perfect balance. Different seasons are busier, summer sunsets at like 8:30. So I'm often shooting until then. But then it comes like this time of year and it's like, man, I'm home every night because the sun sets at 5. So I'm done then.
Yes.
Yeah, it helps a lot with the balance of being home more and having time for prioritizing family and my passion and my businesses.
Oh, I love that you brought that up. That's hilarious too. I've like never really thought about how, yeah, photographers' hours are somewhat, like dependent on the sun and stuff. So that makes so much sense. And oh my gosh, yeah, it's been getting so dark so early. You are getting home early right now.
I know. I like hate losing the sun, but I love that it forces me to slow down. So like, oh, I guess I can't. So I'll say no.
That is a great mindset flip right there. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, so many good things there. Yeah, for sure. I can see how brand photography really can be helpful for help, like with the work-life balance, like weddings, no matter what, you're still kind of like have to commit to whatever they decide their time frame is versus you get to schedule your clients for when you're available and they can find a time within your availability that they are also available and stuff.
Exactly.
That is so nice. Okay, I have another like kind of brand storytelling question just because you are like such a brand photographer and stuff. And this is something that I know a lot of people have trouble with, especially with like their brand photography visuals and stuff, right? Is like the storytelling that goes into brand photography and like how do you capture your brand's essence in photography, right? Because I know it's like a color palette is a color palette, and like designed graphic templates are like very solid and graphic templates, but like especially for your brand photography, like finding the mood, finding the vibe, telling your story, like people get so confused. So like how do you approach that, lady?
Yes, for sure. I feel like everyone's different, but most people are like, please help me, like tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I just try to start like whenever I can, I'll do a discovery call with people just to like get to know them ahead of time because I feel like I can't help share who they are if I don't know who they are. And a lot of times people have like a pretty solid idea of what they want, like, this kind of location. I need these kinds of photos for my website. But more often than not, they're like, I know I need content. Help me. So yeah, I just like to start with asking them like to share anything they want to about themselves and like, describing words for themselves too. So like I just had a discovery call with a lady who she called herself just like joyful, bubbly, iridescent. She just is like full of life, bright, kind of personality. And so for somebody like that, I'm going to pull in like poses and colors and backdrops, obviously kind of stick to things that at least look good with their brand colors, but I'm not going to like probably shoot her on my brick wall at the studio. I'm probably going to stick to like the white, or I have, a foil almost. It's not foil, but it's like when she said iridescent, I was like, oh my gosh, I have like a shiny silver seamless backdrop thing that we can use for you. And so just pulling in things that fit with those describing words of themselves, and then posing to like the difference. I guess my best two examples are actually that money coach girl that I worked with in the very beginning. She's like the most extroverted, bubbly person I have ever met in my entire life. So her photos were always like big bubble gum, like it's actually a pink balloon, but like a big bubble gum photo with like big eyes and crazy faces and like excited, like cheering poses. A money gun, because she was a money coach. So we were like spraying fake money everywhere, like confetti, like that was her vibe. And so we pulled in like props and facial expressions and excited poses to fit that. And then one of the first clients I worked with when I moved back to Colorado, she was a Pilates coach, but she also had just like gone through a lot of trauma in her life. And so she shared a lot about that on social media and how like Pilates and like physical activities for yoga, that kind of thing for her was like part of her healing journey. And so we did a lot of more like introspective poses. So like her hands over her heart, her eyes closed, like looking up at the sky with her hands open, just not necessarily like pictures that she knew like exactly what she was going to write with. But I feel like sometimes when you get the vibe like that, then when you're stuck on copy and you're like, I don't know what to write about today, if you're looking through this image gallery of yourself and it fits who you are and the things that you normally talk about, you can kind of get inspired with what copy to pair with it. So even like, I mean, like the blowing bubblegum, bubbles picture, like not, a caption like not to burst your bubble, but just you can get inspired for like things that tied the pictures and the copy together. Did that answer your question?
Totally. I'm like over here. I love everything that is coming out of your mouth, lady. It's great. Like everything that you're sharing is so helpful, I think. And also too, and just, I love that you as a brand photographer are still thinking about the idea behind it and how you can share it, right? Because I feel like I haven't heard a lot of brand photographers talk about it in that way. Not as many as should, right? I think that a lot of times you'll hear, you need great imagery for your website, you need great imagery to share on social, but they don't really talk about like how then you'll be sharing it and or like let's think about the emotion. Let's think about like how you could pair this with a caption or a story when you share it. Let's talk about how you can use these photos as we're taking them. I love that.
For sure.
And it's so, so helpful. Yeah. The burst your bubble thing made me laugh so hard.
And I'm like, wait, I want that photo now.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is kind of transitioning perfectly into somewhat of like, the marketing and the content stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to ask you, I know that a lot of times people really do, especially kind of more artistic people, a lot of photographers, they have trouble, and a lot of business owners in general, let's be honest, what am I saying? But, they have trouble like taking the work, the awesome, amazing work that they do that inspires them, that they're passionate about, and then selling it and marketing themselves and making it work as a business, right? So when it comes to that, like, do you have anything that's worked for you or any tips or advice or aha moments that you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, where to start? It's not like what, obviously, like we know that it's not one like flip of a switch or like one strategy that like gets people to where they want to be, because otherwise everyone would be where they want to be. So there's just a lot of different avenues, but what's worked for me, I'm not like an SEO genius by any means. Like I have no training in it. I couldn't like tell you I know what I'm doing, but somehow I've gotten my website to a place where I have not, like, I hardly ever blog anymore. I don't touch it that much, but my number one source of inquiries is from Google. And so that's been a crazy shift, because I feel like at the beginning of most people's photography journeys, it's personal connection is like the only place you're getting business from, right? And then as you do that person's photos, then maybe they're sharing it with their friends. And those are some of the best referrals, because they're, real people in your mind, and you feel like, oh, if I'm friends with this person, like I'll probably like their other friends and they're seeing the photos and that kind of thing. But it is a lot slower to get business that way, because especially in the beginning, if you're not doing multiple shoots a week, like that ripple effect is just excruciatingly slow. So Google for me has been great. It definitely took a long time to get there, but just a few like quick tips for that. Blogging really helped me in the beginning. So blogging, family sessions, brand sessions, weddings, all whatever. Same thing for social. Like some of the best advice I heard was like share more of what you want to do more of. So as I was transitioning out of weddings, or trying to, I kind of stopped posting and sharing as many weddings. Like it's still the info's on my website, but I'm not really like dedicating time to that. And I do feel like I attracted a lot more brand clients that way because they're just seeing me post brand clients and kind of like positioning you as the expert in that field. So I'm not saying you have to niche down, but narrowing it can help. But SEO wise, on my website, blogging very specific, like location based things for photographers, at least, it's so much easier to not compete with like wording on your website that's like, I'm a photographer. I'm a wedding photographer. Like, great. There's a lot of wedding photographers in the world. Like, tell me where you are. First of all, like when I go to people's websites and it takes me 5 minutes to figure out where they're located, I'm like, if you have that like literally on your homepage header section, like I'm like Colorado Springs and Denver, Brandon family photographers, like right at the top of my website. Like people should know if they even have the opportunity to work with you location wise. And then just every blog post, every image that you upload, like titling the image, like Colorado Springs brand photographer, like Colorado Springs realtor to photographer, just really specific things. There's so much less competition on those. And I will say there's a lot less competition for brand photography than there is family and wedding. So that has been huge help. But I do get tons of like extended families coming into town on vacation for like a family reunion over the summer. Like I can't tell you how many extended families I did this summer because I have a lot of like the smaller towns like Woodland Park. If you're from this area, you know where that is, but it's about 30 minutes from Colorado Springs. That's where I grew up. So I know a lot of spots up there and people vacation there a lot. And so there's no competition for Woodland Park photographers. So if I'm blogging Woodland Park sessions, like lots of people find me for that. So just like going for those smaller, like specifically location based and specific things is a lot easier. A couple other really helpful things when it comes to marketing. Instagram has been my second source of inquiries for the last probably 4 or 5 years. And just same thing for like the location specific hashtags. Those are probably the best thing there, but also giveaways. I feel like I see a lot of newer photographers doing like discounts, and I feel like it kind of makes you look more desperate a lot of the time. Like just saying it like it is. Like if you're like advertising your mini sessions and then a week beforehand you're like, and 50% off mini sessions. You're like, oh yeah, they couldn't book those, so they're doing. It just cheapens the value of what you're offering. So my tips kind of for those in that situation are do a giveaway instead, because people love the like risk of like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then it's just exposure to more people. So definitely have them like tag friends in the comments, follow you. And then I always, for a giveaway, especially if it's something big, like a photo session, like I just did one for an hour photo session. I'm like, okay, this is a $600 value giveaway. Like you can put a little effort into this, so like the photo or follow me, tag 2 friends in the comments, and then I make them sign up for my email list. For a smaller thing, like if you're just giving away like a mug or something, like I wouldn't expect people to sign up because inboxes are precious space. I know, and we all get way too many emails. But for something big, it ends up being a pretty no-brainer for most people. And the email list, then like transitioning to them to that. We've all heard it before, but like we don't own our Instagram, and like we do own our email list, and our emails are opened so much more than people are likely to see our posts on social media. And I feel like everyone gets freaked out by email lists because it sounds like so much work. I am not very good at my email newsletter. I don't do as much like educational and like other content that's like helpful than I should. I mostly just sell it, which is not good, but I still get a lot of business from it. So especially for mini sessions, I know people have trouble filling their mini sessions. Kinsey said I could humble brag. I hate humble bragging, but just as an example, like this year, I zero paid advertising. I booked 45 holiday mini sessions from Google and my email list primarily. So a few people found me on Instagram, but mostly it was people searching for holiday photos, and I had very specific holiday photos. I use the same like, oh my gosh, there's so many things, Kinsey. How do I put all this into one?
I love it. Keep going, lady.
Okay. Basically, for mini sessions especially, I always suggest making like a landing page on your website. And it doesn't have to be like traditional landing page. It'd be like there's no header. You want them to like stay on that page, not go to all your other pages. I found that it's fine to keep like, if they want to poke around my homepage, see my other work, like that's totally fine for this. but just making a page that it's like if somebody was finding you for the very first time, they'd never come across you or your business before, put every single thing that they need to know about you on that one page. So it's like, here's what I'm offering at the very top. So 2023 Christmas holiday photos in Colorado Springs, like very specific at the top. For SEO, that title is super important. And then who am I? Who the heck am I? A little bit about me, my journey, how I work, examples of my work, testimonials, here's how to book, like all of that stuff on one page. That way they don't have to navigate away if they don't want to. They've seen like plenty of examples of like past holiday sessions, like very specific. So, and I'll make a new landing page for fall minis, for brand minis, just keep it like very specific to like what you actually want them to buy. So that's gotten me a lot. And then my last tip, I think for now, is another way to get people on your email list is to put it in your contract that they agree to be put on your email list. So that, because I would always used to forget, like, to ask them after the session, like, hey, you want to be on my email list? So I just put in my contract, I say like, you can unsubscribe at any time. No, like there's no pressure for that. But then you get all these repeat clients who've already worked with you, already know that you do great work. So then when you share about your like mini sessions or upcoming offers, they are sure to see it because they might not see it on Instagram. And then I also try to make my email list feel special. So I share everything, every new offer with them first. And I make sure to tell them that, give them at least like a week to book. So they just kind of have first dibs on those slots. I do a lot of mini sessions, so I talk about those a lot, but that way they kind of feel like they're in the know and they have to like, there's a little bit of a fire under their butts. Like, oh, I better book these. Like, this is my chance in the next week before she shares on social media with the rest of the world. And I have like about 2,000 people on my email list now. So I'm like, when you think, I mean, if I'm trying to fill 10 mini session slots for a day, I already have 2,000 warm leads for those mini sessions. So you can see how like just adding people and getting that like recurring clients, brands and families. And then weddings, it's like they become family clients after that if you do family photography, So I hope that helps. That was a lot of rambling.
No, oh my gosh, that was so great. I know so many of our photographer listeners and maybe even other listeners are going to be going back and re-listening to like literally everything you just said because it was so actionable and so helpful. So many good points. And yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up about the email list because especially in my world, feel good social kind of founded with making social media feel good, like I have, a lot of people, I myself get pulled into this. I definitely have spent way too much time on Instagram posts versus just doing things for my email or whatever it is. But email really is so much more valuable than a social media post, and it's great. Showing up on social media is great. That's how you cultivate people for your email list often and stuff. And it's like exactly what you just said, like email lists don't have to be like that much work. In fact, these days, I really am finding that honestly, and it might just be like the Black Friday season that we just kind of went through and stuff right now, but like I get more unsubscribes sometimes from my helpful posts or like sharing a blog or sharing a podcast than like when I'm actually selling to people because I think that there's so many emails in our inbox these days. And it's like sometimes if you open it and they're just kind of like, cool, but like, what's the point? Or like, what's an action?
Totally.
Like they would almost rather be sold to in your email list. And you don't have to show up as often as like on social media, all the different stuff, but it's a way of like directly contacting the people who you want to contact, the warm people, like you said. And that's one of those things that we don't like monopolize on as much as we really need to is like the repeat customers or the people who are already warm to our business. Like don't go just like post into the gramosphere and just hope someone sees your thing. No, reach out directly to the people who are already interested in what you have to offer, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that, lady. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kindle because I'm so intrigued and so impressed because I think like honestly just so having a physical space is one of those dreams that I feel like a lot of us have. I know I have, but also it just like terrifies me. The thought of like having to commit to like the mortgage and the utilities and all that stuff, like you said. Well, kind of like, I guess it started at the beginning of like, what kind of sparked your idea of, ooh, I kind of want to start a studio and what is this going to look like for me?
Yeah, so I can't say it was like the most original idea ever because I have just utilized other people's studios and been like, oh, I could do this, Really what started, I never thought I would want to shoot inside that much. I've never been like a huge set person. Like they always feel cheesy and weird to me, but it turns out I just don't like other people's sets. I just wanted to create my own. But really, yeah, where it started was when I moved back to Colorado, started doing like primarily brand photography and realizing like this is what I want to move forward with. There's just not, it was always a struggle finding a place to do it at because there's a lot of cute like Airbnbs and that kind of thing, coffee shops, but there's always people in the background, or you have to pay so much to book the Airbnb for a couple nights. And a lot of them don't even allow photo sessions. Like there's so many complicated things about finding a location that fits. So I would always drive to Denver for the studios up there because there's some really great ones in Denver. And I just got really sick of driving up there. And I was like, surely, like, I feel like there's just this hole down here. Like, surely if I'm feeling this way, there are lots of other photographers in the area that are feeling this way too. So I was like, surely it'll just be easier to start a whole new business and drive to Denver. So I wouldn't say that worked out that way, but it has been completely worth it and life-changing for sure. I did start it like I found it was actually the first space I looked at, which is wild, but I just saw the potential in it and actually was supposed to take my husband to go see it. I had already seen it, but I was supposed to take him to go see it, make sure he liked it too, the day that I started having contractions with my kiddos. So it was just like this, like, please hold the space for me. I just got to go have a baby really quick and then I'll be back. And then so like during maternity leave, I'm like doing all this planning and like there's just so many like questions that I had that I was like, I know the questions that I have, but I don't know who to ask them to. I think that was the biggest hurdle in the beginning was like, who knows the answer to these? Like, I have no idea. So I did start, there's a small business development center here in town that does like free consultations and just here to help small business owners. So I was like trying to utilize the free resources around like that. So I did a few meetings with a lady who helped me work on my business plan, which I needed in order to get a small business loan. And that was the other hard thing was like, I couldn't even get it was really hard to find a place to give a small loan for a creative business, especially. But I found this place through the Small Business Development Center, who also connected me to the guy who helped me find my space. So they were really, really helpful in just the connecting part. But I found a place called the Colorado Enterprise Fund, which specifically gives loans to women and minority owned businesses that are Colorado startups. And I was like, that's me. So I worked with them. And they even said that they tend to give loans to people who the banks might not, just a little bit more risky, just to like foster that small business, all those things, that community. And so he said even they struggle to give out loans to creative businesses because it's so hard to see how it's going to work financially. But they really liked my business plan. And so they gave me a loan for that, which thankfully is paid off now. But so that really helped with the start of like, we had a lot to change on the building. Like we're just renting, but my landlord did a couple things, like he had to tear down 2 walls and replace all the flooring. And then I had somebody come in and like spray paint the ceilings white because they were brown and orange and like replace the blinds. So just some big build out costs, and then just getting anything to start out, like furniture and plants and, seamless backdrops and all of that stuff. So that was really, really helpful to find them in the beginning. And yeah, I wouldn't turn back. I'm so grateful that it's turned out as well as I thought, because it definitely was terrifying. Like I signed my lease and I was like, oh, what did I just do? Because I have this business plan, but it's all theoretical. It's like, oh, I can do members and I can do hourly, but like, I don't know what people are actually going to book. So, but again, I use the exact same strategies that I've learned in my photography business. And I did like giveaway at the beginning to just like get people to know that we exist, and then started adding people to my email list. And then, I used Instagram, of course, and the personal connections. And then as photographers started to use it, their clients would see it and the photographers that follow them would see it, and just kind of spiraled from there.
Oh, so inspiring and so motivational and helpful too. Because exactly, I do think a lot of people often, I myself, forget about like kind of the small business bureaus and like the the free resources that are in your community that you can like go to and stuff. So thanks for that reminder. And lady, you have a lot to humble brag about, okay? Like
sweet.
paying off your loan like 2 years in, like that's amazing, So you did a great job. And the fact that you did that like while you were going into labor and a new mom, like
Terrible
what?
idea. Terrible idea.
Amazing. But you're so amazing. I love that. And that's so cool that like you had a problem. I love hearing those stories, especially you had a problem and then you're like, "Oh, what's a solution? I bet like other people are having this problem too and like how can I solve this?" Like that's just such a great way to start a business and stuff.
For sure.
I have one more question for you. This kind of popped up for me whenever like thinking about the studio space, especially and whatnot, like competition for new business owners is like a thing, right? Like I feel like but I had to go through this like for social media stuff and like just continually like go through this again and again. But a lot of times when you're just starting out, you're like want to succeed. You feel like you're trying to figure out what's going on and you're seeing other people in your space and you're like, oh my gosh, like, they're my competition. Like what, like there's weird vibes here. And it takes like a while, to kind of shift your mindset, adapt into the collaborative mindset or the welcoming or the sharing or whatever that looks like and stuff. Like, what did that look like for you just as a photographer? And then maybe with like the Kindle space, just because like, it's your studio and like, what if, other photographers are taking similar photos? Like, is there any weird vibes there that you had to overcome or was it pretty easy?
I have really come to have a community over competition mindset. I think it's easier now than it was at the beginning, like you said, just as my calendar is full of clients. And so it's less scary to be like, oh, I might lose that one to somebody else, but it's been really cool to get to know specifically in my industry, like other photographers in the area. I feel like I'm so well connected to everyone now. And everybody's like has their own strengths and is good at things. And if I get inquiries that I don't want to do, like I will send them to like the person who does want to drive 3 hours for an elopement because I do not, and they reciprocate too. So like the more I foster that, like I'm going to like try to support you as much as I can. And like they totally reciprocate and like they will send me people when they can't do it or don't feel like they can because they don't know Flash and it's indoors or something like that. Like send them my way, Yeah. But the thing with Kindle too is Kindle is only going to succeed if the photographers who are booking it succeed. And so it definitely is like an interesting vibe, but like I want to support them as much as I can so that they keep booking business and keep coming back to Kindle. So like one of the ways that I did that the last couple of years is if people book for holiday mini sessions, and I put a note kind of in the booking form, like we're using the Christmas set. Yes, we're doing minis and we have slots open. So here's like our booking page or our website and our business name. And then I create a page on our Kindle website that's holiday. I think it has, I can't remember which pops up first, like my photography one or Kindles, but they're both like within the top 5 to 10 pages that pop up on Google when you search for like Colorado Springs Christmas photos. So by adding our photographers who have the space booked and are like, we're looking for people to book mini sessions with us, like I add them there. They get a backlink to their website, which is also huge for SEO. And then people can find them via that page. But that's again, like why I say, like, if they have just a booking page, like I always encourage them to make some sort of landing page, because if they're just finding them on our website, that's going to be like the first time they've ever run across them. And then I put myself on there too. So like if I'm doing mini sessions, I'll put myself on there as well. But yeah, just, I think there's something so special about supporting each other and realizing that there is enough business to go around. It's hard to get stuck in the mindset that there's just so many photographers. Like it's such a saturated market. Yeah, everywhere is. Like everywhere is. And it's not just our industry. Like there's just a lot of people doing things in all the industries, especially creative ones. So, but there are more people looking for that than there are people offering it, I think. You just got to find them.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. That's why I wanted to ask you, because exactly it's in every industry, and it's always, I early on had to just like get over it and just adapt. Like the more you welcome each other, lift each other up, like it's all comes back around, right? And it's reciprocative, and it's like so much better that way. And yeah, I've seen your when I was looking at Kindle's website, I saw that list. I was like, oh, that's so great, you know?
Good. I'm glad you found it.
Yeah, because exactly, it's like it's relationship building is what it is, and it all comes back around. So, Kira, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the Feel Good Social Podcast. Can you share with everyone how they can connect with you and find out more about you? Because I know they'll want to do that for sure.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So best places are probably my websites. So kirawhitney.com and kindlecos.com. That's KINDLECOS.com. And then on Instagram at Kira Whitney Photography and at KindleCOS. And Kira is KIRA, just in case.
Awesome. And we will put those in the show notes as well. But thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom, lady. This was such a great conversation.
Agreed. Thanks so much for having me.
How wonderful was Kira? You guys, I truly adored chatting with this woman. We are, kindred souls, both being Enneagram 7s. So much fun. And I just hope that you love this conversation as much as I did. If you did, don't forget to leave us 5 stars or a friendly review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to this show on, because that really does help us to continue spreading our feel good message. And hey, why don't we connect on Instagram? I am at Feel Good Social. I would love to connect with you over there. Just send me a message. Let me know that you came from the podcast, because it will be so much fun to spread some more love back to you in the DMs. All right. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.